And alrighty, guys, what's happening out there? Hope you're all well. Apologies there for the delay in getting 420 news to you today. I just have myself too bloody busy. I was planning on getting the 420 news done at 4:20. I had a meeting at 5 o'clock. Thought I had I was on top of it, but obviously the universe was like, "No, Martin, you're setting too many tasks for yourself, and you need to slow down. And we're gonna open your eyes to this." So I didn't allow myself any time for shit to go wrong as it does. All that went wrong really was my laptop needed an update, and it just bloody took way too long. And but look, I'm here anyway, guys. So welcome along to your 420 news today. It's the second time I'm going to be doing this today. Earlier just wasn't as good. So welcome along. This is 420 news brought to you by Martin's World, and I'm your news host, Martin Condon. So guys, hope you're all doing well out there. It is Friday, thank God for that, and Friday's high day. It's one of the days I'll make an exception for smoking on the show. I tried to not do it as much just because I don't really like the smoke, to be honest. I prefer to have my volcano here or the bong, and they're sadly just too noisy, he says as he just blows into the microphone. um, so guys, in our 420 news today, before I get into it, look, if you want to support the show, if you want to support cannabis legalisation in Ireland, you can do so by signing up to the patreon.com/Martin's World. All the money gathered there will be used to set up a cannabis activist hub in Cork City to bring together the cannabis community for socialising and for organising and for fighting for the legalisation of cannabis in Ireland. So if you want to do that, sign up there at the Patreon. You also have up there, over in this corner, you have martinsworld.ie. You can go to that website. There's an option up there where you can make a donation to in Bitcoin. I think you can also use your card there as well through that option, but it's kind of mainly there for Bitcoin. And yeah, those are just little ways you can support the show and support legalisation in Ireland. None of that money will go into my pocket. It'll all be used to fill the pocket of some landlord who might be willing to rent the building for the purposes of bringing together the cannabis community. So guys, if you want to support that, belt away. To everybody who has helped so far, guys, thanks very much. Your support and generosity is amazing. I think I have somewhere in the region of 400 odd euro raised so far. So thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate that. I estimate the running costs will be somewhere in the region of maybe 1,200 to 1,500 euro per month when you take into rent and rates and all of that stuff. But I'm sure we'll come up with some way of covering that, because a hub for activists to come together to organise themselves, it's definitely needed. We need to strengthen our community, and I'm going to do my part in doing that. So, and I hope you do your part too in helping me. Thanks to everybody who has so far. Guys, onwards we go. The start of today's 420 news. We're going to start off in Scotland. So, in Scotland, we have our first stars of today's 420 news. And the headline there was "Dopey dealers nabbed wheeling cannabis plants down the street in shopping trolley." The pair were shopped by officers when spotted. They spotted a bizarre scene while out in patrol in Renfrew. So Renfrew there is in Scotland. So two dopey dealers were nabbed wheeling thousands of pounds worth of cannabis plants down the street in a shopping trolley. The pair were spotted by the cops while they were out in patrol on Wednesday morning. And when the cops approached them, they had some black bags in the trolleys, and the cops quickly smelled some cannabis. After inspecting the bags, they discovered thousands of pounds of cannabis plants, which police believe they were trying to move from a location nearby. One of the bags was filled with cannabis buds. The police say was worth about £5,000. A nice bag of weed there, in fairness. The bizarre incident has been described as unusual by Inspector Alan O'Hare of Johnstown Renfrew and the village policing team. Unusual, of course, it's unusual. Like, it's a trolley full of cannabis. Like, that is unusual. Surely a van would have been a bit better, but look, you use what you have. Like, a resourceful stoners, in fairness, probably being environmentally friendly, maybe not wanting to burn a bit of fuel, but probably just didn't have the means for transporting it, and they grabbed a trolley. And sadly, they got caught. The officers were suspicious of the men as their actions seemed out of the ordinary. Of course, two dudes with a trolley with black bags in it, that is kind of out of the ordinary in the middle of a street. Shopping trolleys are normally for shopping centres. They were quick to detect the smell of cannabis, and they took the necessary action. They drew their guns and they told the guys get down because they felt threatened by the smell of cannabis. They took necessary action. Sure, if anything, like, they should have just helped them move the cannabis plants, being nice, friendly neighbourhood police. Like, but no, sadly, cannabis growers are the enemy. We're bad guys. People who consume cannabis were evil somehow, and it requires necessary action. Draw your gun, get down, you evil criminal. Scumbags. Inspector O'Hare is urging members of the public who may be aware of the cannabis cultivations in Renfrew town to get in touch, as officers believe the plants may have come from a cultivation nearby. He added the officers who were on patrol were not able to locate where the men came from with the trolley, but it is thought that they may be cultivated nearby. And they're asking any rats in the area. They call the rat hotline, and it informed the police there as to where the kind, neighbourly cannabis growers are. Now, obviously, not all cannabis growers are kind and neighbourly. As I said before, some of them are bloody victims of human trafficking, actually slaves. And we won't go ranting on that one anyway, sure. But there you have it, guys. The first bit of today's 420 news. Two lads getting caught with a trolley full of cannabis. It's just not, be forewarned, guys. Don't go moving your cannabis in trolleys because it looks rather suspicious. In other news, guys, we have a landlord. A landlord was shocked after his empty house was found to be full of cannabis plants. The 65-year-old Leicester man, a landlord, he did not want to be named. He got a call from the police after they discovered 146 plants in his house in Allendale Avenue, Nottingham, at 6 p.m. on Wednesday. He got was a phone call asking him to come down to the house, and he done so. He found the door broken in, and the police have asked him to fix the door and clear the property. There was not supposed to be anybody in the house, and he had no idea how the grow had got in there. Very likely stories, you know. Oh geez, I didn't know that they were in there. I wonder, like, it's very possible, like a very good story too. Like, you know, you're the landlord of the house, and you know nobody's in there. Sure, you just get someone you know. Here, lads, go down there. I'll change the locks there for you, and you can have the keys. I know nothing about what's going on in there, and you grow the plants, and we'll say nothing. Decent old operation to have, in fairness. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Danny landlords out there. You know, it's desperate times, desperate measures, guys. So we're going into a really tough recession there soon, and it seems like drugs is where the money's to be made at the moment. No recession there for the drug dealers. He said there had not been any tenants in the property since March, and that someone seemed to have changed the locks to the property, as well as bypassing the electric meters and filling the house with cannabis plants. This is a big issue I have with illegal cannabis grows, actually, is when dudes go bypassing the electricity meters. A lot of the times this leads to fires and puts lives in danger. You know, if that house is attached to maybe a family home next door, and some scumbag tries to steal electricity, and he does so in a poor way, and it causes a fire. Again, caused by prohibition, really, more than anything. Obviously, you know, you don't have people just normally stealing power. They only do so when they're growing cannabis, you know, for one reason, they don't want a big massive bill coming to the house, because one, they don't want to pay it, and two, it's incredibly suspicious if you've got like 4,000 or 5,000 kilowatts running 24 hours a day. That is a bit suspicious to the electricity companies, so you go bypassing the electricity box then because of that. So there's double win there. Look, they don't know how much electricity you're using, and you don't have to pay the bills. But look, sadly, there's going to be victims along the way there. As I say, could be a family home attached to the house next door, and they could get caught up in that fire. So onwards we go with that. The man said that he had been left 10 to £15,000 out of pocket because of the damage to the house. The police had been called after neighbours noted the distinctive smell of cannabis coming from the house. Bloody rats, nosy neighbours. One neighbour, Pat Benjamin, 78, said this, it's always been nice in this little area and you've always felt safe bringing your grandkids up. Like, how... Prohibition caused this, guys. Like, seriously, cannabis is not going to kill your grandkids. Like, no, some evil gangster who wants to protect his territory possibly could, and he could recruit your grandkid into the deal, like the trade of dealing cannabis, yes, all because of prohibition. So, Pat Benjamin, you know, really, if you want your nice little area to remain safe, you should be out there calling for the legalisation of cannabis so that this shit doesn't go on any longer. He says that it just shows you that these things can go on under your nose. Pardon the pun. Well, it didn't. It's not that it went down under his nose because that's how they caught him. You do not need to. You do not expect it when something like this happens. I think it's no good. Sergeant Ian Johnson of Nottingham Police said the cultivation of cannabis is a serious crime and can often be linked to other serious offences. It's a great that the community are coming forward in addition to our proactive work to tackle this crime. Proactive, yeah, no, not really, to be honest. What you're doing is actually causing a lot more crime as a result of your need to wage a war on drugs and keep prohibition in place. So sorry, Ian Johnson, Sergeant of Nottinghamshire Police. You're misinformed as to the work you're doing or to the benefits of the work you're doing. Sorry. He also says that we do not tolerate drugs, you know, as it has a negative impact on the community. No, drug prohibition has a negative impact on your community, much more than drugs. And we are keen to catch those responsible, the government. In addition to this, the electric had been bypassed at the house we went to the last night, which is very dangerous. Again, you know what I mean? I agree with you, lads. It's incredibly dangerous. Legalise cannabis, like, and this shit won't be going on. In fairness, like, come on, like, you know, it's not rocket science. It really isn't. It's just madness that we're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect something different to happen as a result. Stupidity. Other news, guys. Argentina makes today's news because Argentina have legalized the home growing of medicinal cannabis by individuals and groups. So Argentina, the government on Thursday legalized the self-cultivation of cannabis for medicinal use by individuals and networks, as well as the sale of creams and oils made from the plant in the pharmacies. Well done, Argentina. That seems amazing, because it was in 2017 that they first approved the law that authorized medicinal use of cannabis oils. But they kept in place then the prohibition on the cultivation of the plant and the possession of seeds by individuals. Interesting, actually, in Argentina, I didn't know that the possession of seeds also was illegal. That's interesting, you know. I didn't know that. But no, obviously, well done. It's not. Congratulations. The new decree signed by President Alberto Fernandez seeks to allow timely, safe, inclusive and protective access for those who need to use cannabis as a therapeutic tool according to its text. It is urgent to create a regulatory framework that allows timely, safe, inclusive and protective access for those who need to use cannabis as a therapeutic tool. That's read in the Decree 883/2020. The new rules state that the sale of cannabis oils and creams in pharmacies and the personal and organised cultivation of the plant is authorised for users, researchers and patients who are registered under ReproCan program, so the National Cannabis Program there in Argentina. It was a scheme that was created by the 2017 law, but is not yet fully operational. Jesus, sounds a lot like the Medicinal Cannabis Access Program. But sadly, I don't think they're going to allow anybody to be growing cannabis at home as a result of the ineffectiveness or the inactiveness of that program. That program too, I think, was set up in, was it 2018, 2019 was the Medicinal Cannabis Access Program. I think it's in place now, 2 years. Nobody's gotten access through it. Absolutely ridiculous. So maybe, like, this is something to consider there, Stephen Donnelly. Maybe we should start allowing networks and groups to be growing cannabis and creating oils, and maybe setting up labs, kind of maybe government certified labs for the testing of these oils then before they get to patients. I don't know, just throwing out ideas there, because it seems that the cost is quite prohibitive still for patients. Like Kenny Tynan there of the Cannabis Patient podcast, that the cost is seeing him now to go back to seeking cannabis illegally. I hope to have him on the podcast actually soon enough to maybe find out a bit more as to how things are going and that. But until then, you know, I just don't really know. But he said that he's going to be getting cannabis illegally because the cost is prohibitive. Then you also have parents like Vera who are trying to get it for their daughter, you know, who has a serious health condition, and cannabis has been incredibly beneficial for that treating that condition. And you know, there's worries around the delivery of that continuing, because, as I say, they've been getting it delivered to the house now since the start of the pandemic, because before the pandemic they had to fly outside of Ireland to get it. So Vera has been pushing hard now to get the continued delivery of that to the home until such time as there's a way in which she can get it through the pharmacies here in Ireland, because still we can't get it through the pharmacies. A private courier can bring it to your door and hand it over to you, but that same private courier can't bring it to your pharmacist and have your pharmacist dispense it to you like they do every other medicine. Absolutely ridiculous. It's so stupid. So stupid. Do you know, they say us stoners are the stupid ones. We might be silly at times and we might have silly ideas and stuff like, but that's kind of the creativeness and the looseness that cannabis allows a person to have. There's no danger to that at all. It's actually quite beneficial. But yeah, we're the stupid ones. So the new rules state that the sale of cannabis oils and creams in pharmacies and the personal and organised cultivation of the plant is organised. I read that part. Patients and relatives of children with serious diseases who use cannabis oil to improve their quality of life have been pushing for the right to grow their own plants in order to produce their own specific oil. Many have continued to do so despite being punished for doing so by the courts. So in Argentina, since they got medicinal cannabis access there in 2017, there's still been patients or parents even who've been fighting for the right to grow their own, obviously because of the costs that are involved there. With buying that medicine, it's obviously cheaper to just grow it and extract it, make it at home. Why not if you can? So the campaigners celebrated the news. Today we cry with joy because we started this fight for our children. We are a great family fighting for the same right, the right to quality of life. We are going to cultivate our own medicine without fear. We are not criminals, said Mama Cultiva campaign group in a message posted on social networks. Must check them out actually. Mama Cultiva, MAMACULTIVA. That's a campaign group there in Argentina who have been fighting for the right for patients to be able to grow their own at home. So well done to those guys. You know, your fight now, it seems, is over. You've won, so congratulations. The article goes on to say cannabis oil is used for the treatment of epilepsy as well as other palliative therapies in individuals suffering from cancer, fibromyalgia and Parkinson's disease, as well as others also use cannabis products to alleviate the effects of their illness. The new rules also give the green light to the importation of medicinal cannabis products for illnesses. Previously, the rules only applied for some forms of epilepsy. Companies will now be able to acquire medicinal specialities elaborated in the country or acquire magisterial formulations elaborated by authorised pharmacies according to the decree. Okay, so just a bit of jargon there. So for the companies, they can now kind of put forward medicines or whatnot and have authorised formulations go forward too. The national government will promote the public production of cannabis for medicinal use and will guarantee access for patients who do not have coverage under prepaid or union-run healthcare schemes. Amazing, guys. Well done. Like unlike what our Irish government are doing here, and they're not looking after the patients, sadly. Details on the numbers of plants registered users will be available to grow. Will be available to grow. Will inform in the coming days. Officials said. So obviously, it's a bit of breakdown there in the translation of that. In 2013, neighbouring Uruguay became the first country to pass a law that allows the cultivation of marijuana, cannabis, for personal consumption at home, as well as the establishment of growers' clubs to plant cooperatively and purchase in pharmacies. Since then, several Latin American countries have relaxed bans on cannabis. So yeah, if you don't know, Uruguay became the first country to legalise cannabis there back in 2013. You were able to buy cannabis for as little as $1 a gram. But unfortunately, apparently, it was a load of ditchweed. It wasn't any good, and it seemed that the locals still preferred the illegally imported stuff over the government-approved stuff. But look, the cops were a bit more lenient and whatnot there because, look, it was legal. So well done, Argentina, guys. Look, ministers here, Ireland, take note. Like, come on, this is progress happening. They actually have compassion in them. Like, these aren't lizard people, unlike our government. They're fucking lizard people. They're emotionless. Ugh. How can you leave patients suffering? How in the name of God can you leave a parent who only wants you to answer the phone and just guarantee that you'll continue the delivery of a medication to her? Why are you ignoring her? Why will you not answer the phone to Vera Toomey and just say, look, yeah, Vera, it was stupid that you had to get on an airplane in the beginning and we're not going to make you do it anymore. Yeah, we're going to continue getting a private courier to deliver it to you until such time as we have an indigenous industry set up where you can get it from our own pharmacies. Do you know, absolute clowns we have in power, like absolute clowns. Anyhow, other news, guys. We have a report there that was published recently by the European Monitoring Centre for Drugs and Drug Addiction. Quite a biased organisation to be publishing these reports, but because they're only going to see drugs as being bad. But anyhow, look, the report from these guys came out, and there was some interesting findings in it, actually. And one of the more interesting findings in it is that teenagers now in Ireland prefer illegal drugs over legal drugs. So Irish teens more likely to take illegal drugs, but smoking and drinking levels fall. So legal drugs, smoking and drinking, those levels are falling, and Irish teens are actually more likely to take illegal drugs compared to their European counterparts. There was a couple of interesting findings in that, and I thought the most interesting one in it is that since they done the last report, which was back in 2003, I believe. I just get into this article here now. So yeah, it was back in 2003 they carried out the last study, and they found back then that the European average was 91% of teenagers had consumed alcohol in their lifetime, and 63% had consumed in the previous month to completing the survey. And this time it was 73% had consumed in their lifetime and 41% had consumed in the last month. Quite interesting, that legal drugs, regulation of drugs seems to control the use of the drugs in the younger populations. The use is going down. I just thought that was interesting. And then you see the rate of illegal drug use actually going up then in that. So in the report it says smoking and drinking levels among 15 to 16-year-olds across Europe, including Irish teenagers, are declining, according to a major EU report on alcohol and other drugs. However, the study of teenagers' habits in 35 European countries showed Irish teenagers were more likely to have taken illegal drugs than their continental counterparts. The report by the EU drugs agency known as the DMCDA revealed 20% of Irish teenagers had consumed some illegal drug in their lifetime compared to the European average of 17%. So we're 3% more there on that, in terms of using illegal drugs. And I would believe we're quite a bit higher than in Holland, where you would have a more liberal approach to drug use, I suppose. It's tolerated. It's not legal there. So if you don't know, in Holland, yes, cannabis selling is still illegal. It is not legal in Holland to sell cannabis, but it is tolerated. A cannabis coffee shop, it can only hold a maximum of up to 500 grams of cannabis, and there is no avenue there for them to buy cannabis at all. Now, I know they're looking at setting up a scheme there for legal cannabis grows and a legal cannabis supply network now. They're basically setting up a monopoly for their buddies by the sounds of it. But all along, no, cannabis was illegal in Amsterdam. It was just tolerated. And despite that, they have less usage in their younger population compared to Ireland. Flies in the face of the fact that, having a store where you can buy cannabis is going to increase cannabis usage amongst teenagers. Well, if they put an age limit in place, it actually doesn't. Boys in Ireland are almost twice as likely to use e-cigarettes as girls. Yeah, there's no surprise there, I suppose. I just thought that was interesting to throw in there. And another interesting one was gambling. By the survey that was highlighted how gambling for money has become a popular activity, with 30% of boys and 19% of girls in Ireland having gambled at least once in the previous year. Quite interesting. It says 1 in 10 Irish teenagers regarded their gambling as excessive, with 5.7% claiming their gambling was problematic. Are we going to outlaw gambling now? Because look, there's some kids out there who have problems with gambling. Like, imagine we made gambling illegal. It's just so stupid. Like, when you hear people coming out, the Mary Cannons there of the world, Professor Mary Cannon, if you don't know who I'm on about, she's a scaremonger who comes out with we can't legalise cannabis because of the young people. There we go, look, young people are suffering as a result of gambling. Are we going to make it illegal? No, for sure we're not. Of course we're not. Don't be stupid. Then it goes on to say that almost a quarter of Irish teenagers said that they had consumed alcohol at the age of 13 or younger, with 5.3% claiming they had been become intoxicated at the time. So the people who drank at 13, 5% of them said they became intoxicated at the time. All right, yeah. Sorry, just trying to make headway of what that actually said there. But like, when I was young, like if I was taking this survey when I was 12, 13, 14, I definitely had a sup of a pint from my dad in the pub. Like, for sure, I had a sup of a pint at that age. Definitely, without a shout of a doubt. Like, I can definitely... I think there were stories told where dummies were being dipped into the head of the stout, I'll be ran from a bit of iron there for them, Like, come on, of course there's going to be young people going to be using alcohol. It says spirits are the most popular type of alcoholic drink, then, with Irish teenagers followed closely by both beer and cider. Despite the high levels of alcohol use among young people, the EMCDA figures show that the trend has been downward since the peak in 2003, which I talked about. The study also recorded the lowest level of binge drinking among European teenagers in over a decade, down from 43% to 35%. It's a lot, a big drop. Then it goes on talking about smoking there as well. It says the smoking is down. The report shows that 31% of teenagers have smoked a cigarette in their lifetime, compared to the European average of 41%. So we're actually lower there in smokers. And only 14% of Irish students have smoked in the past month, in contrast to the European average of 20%. That's interesting. We've got a lower population there of smokers. I definitely think it's a big issue out there within the cannabis community with tobacco smoking, mixing tobacco with your cannabis. It's just it's a weird European thing. If I grew up in America and if I smoked cannabis, it was most likely going to be in the form of a spliff, I think is what they call it. Or is it a joint? I can't remember. I mixed those two up. A spliff is without tobacco and a joint is with tobacco, I think. So I think that, like, if you mix your cannabis with tobacco, you're smoking a joint, and if it's pure, it's a spliff. But in Ireland, we kind of call a puree blunt. Let's be blunt about it. There's no tobacco in there, like we got here. This isn't a blunt per se. It's actually a cocktail. It's got some hash in there, but like that's weird. In Ireland, it's majority of cannabis consumers mix with tobacco. In America, it's kind of like it's weird that we do that to people over there. And it's I gave up tobacco 8 years ago now, and it was the best move I ever made. I used to smoke way more cannabis back then because of the addictive nature of the tobacco. It had me smoking joints back to back. Like guys, if I smoke, if there was tobacco in this, I would have finished this ages ago. But like I can take a few talks, put this down for a while, and that's enough. Like there's a talk or two off this, like it delivers enough. In a social situation, yeah, you could find yourself consuming a bit more in that when it's going around. You do tend to be smoking a bit more, but like a talk or two is more than enough. Put it down, like, and enjoy. There's so high you can get, like really. Any more than that, you're just kind of wasting it, really. But yeah, tobacco use, I think that's a big issue. I think if we were to have a legal cannabis market here, if cannabis was to get cheaper, and if we were to have proper education there, if people were to be properly educated around the routes in which you can consume cannabis, I think we could get that tobacco usage down a lot lower, and in turn, do benefits to health. One study off the top of my head that's coming to mind was a study that was done that compared the effects of tobacco smoke, the effects of tobacco and cannabis smoke, and the effects of cannabis alone smoke. And the study found that the cannabis alone produced the most amount of antioxidants in the lungs, and therefore actually kind of alleviated any maybe problems that would have arisen there. Like it would have negated some of the problems that would have arose. Mixing your cannabis with tobacco, there is antioxidants and other kind of beneficial compounds forming in the smoke in the lungs, but it's combined with the tobacco smoke then, and the nicotine and all of the harmful compounds and get formed there. So there's a lot more harmful compounds then be mixed with it. So the antioxidant potential then it's not really enough to negate the harmful effects of the smoke, but it's still better than smoking tobacco alone. Tobacco alone actually caused the most level of harm in the lungs because there was no forms of antioxidants in there to negate the harmful effects of the compounds in the smoke. So there you go, guys. Like smoking pure blunts, bongs, pipes, vaporizers, like try to kick the tobacco. Guys, this shit is expensive. The tax you pay on tobacco, like the people who say to me, I could never smoke pure, I could never afford it. I don't know how you guys afford to be paying all this tax money there to be buying your tobacco. Now, in fairness, I know there's a lot of people out there get it illegally, which in turn creates its own problems again about illegally sourcing your tobacco. But look, let's not get into that because we could go on and on. Like, but I'm not trying to be judgmental either, guys. Look, I'm only just trying to enlighten people, inform people of better ways in doing things. I definitely think it was a better choice that I made. And I can, I can understand. At first, it was hard. When I gave up the tobacco, at first, I definitely tended to smoke a bit more cannabis because I just wanted to occupy my hands, and I needed to smoke something. So I definitely smoked it more initially. But geez, the highs I was getting then, it was crazy because of just smoking a pure. It just brought on a different level of an experience. So it's just something to be thinking of anyway. I'm not completely anti-tobacco, and anti to the tobacco that's out there at the moment, like some of these the Johnny Blues and all of this kind of crack. Like it's just laden with heavy, nasty chemicals. I know one or two of the lads were growing their own tobacco plants out there. I don't know if they're watching now or whatever, like, but that's the way to go. If you want to consume tobacco, grow your own tobacco and consume it then, and watch the difference and the experience actually of how much you won't really enjoy it because of the absence of the chemicals that are added to it to make it a bit more pleasurable and enjoyable. So yeah, that's that. I'll just get back on to finish this there on the study. So Irish teenagers recorded the highest level use of synthetic catenones in Europe, with 2.5% admitted taking the substance, while they also had one of the highest levels of use in anabolic steroids at 2%. Ireland also recorded the highest rate of any European country for the perceived availability of cocaine, with 22% claiming it was relatively easy to get. Just over 3% of teenagers then in the Republic said that they had taken cocaine, which made it the most common illicit drug in Ireland after cannabis. So cannabis was the most commonly used drug in Ireland for teenagers, and that was followed then by cannabis. Keep in mind, guys, this survey was carried out by almost 100,000 students, including 1,940 students from the Republic of Ireland, and yeah, they participated in the latest edition of the European School Survey project on alcohol and other drugs, which also highlighted how gambling the gambling was an issue there for young people. Again, keep in mind, like with the survey, it's like if you have 20%, I think it is, there admitted to using illegal drugs. How many of those kids lied on the survey? You know, it's an illegal drug. Just keep in mind that you have young kids like sitting there and they're being asked, like, have you used an illegal drug? And you're expecting them to tell you the truth. Like you'd be a bit naive to think that they're going to tell you the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But you know, I think that number is definitely a little bit higher. But anyhow. Other news, guys, the Irish Naval Service at the forefront in the battle against narco submarines. Narco submarines. So this was an article that was out there. I believe it was in the Navy Times, actually, the Naval Times. So the Irish Naval Service has been warned by a top EU official that it faces a game changer in drug trafficking with the use of narco submarines by drug cartels to transport narcotics into Europe. Absolutely crazy. The Irish Navy are basically the gatekeepers for Europe, and these guys, the Maritime Analysis and Operational Centre for Narcotics, MOAC, MOAC-N is their acronym, MOCN. MAOCN. But yeah, look at these guys. Like, look at their thing. It's like the A team. If you're watching this here, basically, if you're listening to this here, what we're looking at is it's a picture of a speedboat, two speedboats, and a helicopter, like just cruising across, like big thing. It's just like all you're short is the A team team music. Like these boys, like I don't know, they probably think they're the A team. They think they're doing a good job, but meanwhile they're fighting a losing war. Like someone let these guys know that drugs have won the war, and drugs won, the war's over. We just need to get these guys. These guys are like Trump, just refusing to leave office. They just want. They're refusing. They're just refusing to admit defeat. But drugs have won the war on drugs. So Michael O'Sullivan said the first ever discovery in Europe of semi-submersible sent across the Atlantic by South American drug lords also poses a security threat, with the potential that the vessels could be used by terrorists to carry and deploy explosives. In recent months, a manpower crisis affecting the naval service has seen a number of vessels unable to go out and patrol. So yeah, the army are having issues there because, you know what, they're paying the boys fucking pittance. They don't look after the army service at all, or the navy service. I don't really agree with all of the work that they do, but like, geez, the pay they get for the work and the time that they give up, it's ridiculous, especially when you compare it to what we pay our politicians and for the level of work that they do. It's absolutely ridiculous. So Mr. O'Sullivan, the executive director of the EU Maritime Analysis and Operations Centre on Narcotics, said Europe will be flying blind if the Irish Naval Service and the Air Corps do not deploy their ships and the planes to track vessels. The MOACN is made up of 7 EU member states, including Ireland, and targets the transportation of drugs, predominantly cocaine and cannabis, across the Atlantic into Europe. absolutely waste of time, guys. This needs to be legalized, and the supply just needs to be regulated and controlled, because we don't need to be paying for your helicopters and your boats and all of this crap. Really don't. That money needs to be used to fund our hospitals and tidy up our roads and look after our homeless, for fuck's sake. Mr. O'Sullivan, a former Garda Assistant Commissioner, has briefed mid and high ranking officers in the Naval Service here on the threats. In particular, I talked about the new game changer, which is the semi-submersibles, he said. When you have guys who put 3.3 tons of cocaine into a vessel they built in the Amazon jungle and sail it across the Atlantic for 22 days with 3 men on board and get to the coast of Galicia, Spain. Jesus, sorry guys if anybody's living there, if we're butchering the name of your place. Gali Galicia. Anyhow, that's a game changer, he says. He was referring then there to the first ever seizure of a semi-submersible in Europe, the so-called narco submarine that measured over 20 meters long, ran into trouble, and the crew decided to sink it. And that was back in 2017 there that they found that. I think I have a picture of it here for you. I'll get that up. Yeah, so here is the submarine. So this is just a little sketch that they drew up of it just to kind of show the design of it. You can see it's quite a piece of work. They have a little silencer on the exhaust so that it's kind of hard to detect in the water. And they're able to fit quite a bit of cocaine inside there. Or cannabis, I would imagine it's cocaine they're transporting though, because it's just worth so much more to them. You can grow cannabis now in Spain, so I don't think they're going to be shipping the cannabis over to Spain when you can just grow it there. They've got a nice industry there. So it's mostly cocaine that these guys are shipping. And if we just regulate the trade, that all goes away. It doesn't all go away completely, but it just means that these guys, it's not as valuable anymore for them. Here's an actual photo of the submarine here then, and the boys unloading some of the cocaine from the top of it. So when the authorities were catching up there with the lads in the submarine, they're unsure as if they ran into trouble or if they purposefully sank the submarine. But they caught 2 of the occupants of the submarine, and a third guy actually escaped. He swam to shore and he managed to get away. I don't think they ever caught up with him afterwards. But they found on board then like 3.3 tons of cocaine. Imagine that, like stuck on this thing. They built it in the jungle. Like, this will tell you how much like drugs have won the war on drugs. Like, the lads are out there in a jungle, and they're building a submarine, and they're putting 3 fellas inside, and they're going to sail it for 22 days. And this is the journey that they're taking here. Like, it's an amazing journey. Like, it's quite an accomplishment for these guys to be able to do it. They go from Colombia to Cape Verde, and then they touch off up in Spain. So they must have a little stop off there on the tip of Africa, off the east coast or west coast of Africa there. So they have a little stop off there, and then they track on up to Spain. John, absolutely ballsy. Not for love nor money would you catch me getting in that thing, especially if I knew some lads in the jungle had made it. Like, and for 22 days, geez, that thing must have stank. I don't know. That must be quite a journey to go on. But it just goes to show the lengths that people are willing to go to get the drugs to shore, to get from point A to point B. You get drugs produced in Colombia, they're worth pennies, and you make that journey all the way to Spain, and then you get them into the European market, and they're worth thousands, absolutely thousands, and there's a killing to be made, so much so they're willing to kill for it, and this is why we need to end this prohibition, because of all the crime and all of the harm that just goes with it, There's some more waffle there from your man in the article. Mr. O'Sullivan said Irish waters stretch for hundreds of kilometres. A vessel could be very far southwest of Ireland heading for Europe, and the Irish Navy is the first to be in a position to pick up on them. If we can't get an Irish asset out there, we don't know where they are. So you need that Irish asset. If you don't have the resources of the Navy, we're lost, because Ireland is so strategically important. But isn't that strategically important to take care of our citizens, like the health of them? Seriously, like our health service is a shambles. Our roads are crap. Our politicians are incredibly overpaid. And we're pumping money out into the Navy to go fight a war on drugs, which is lost. Why? Why continue this any longer? Mr. O'Sullivan said that despite COVID-19 restrictions, the drugs trade is still booming. Yeah, no secret there. The MAOC figures show that at least 23 vessels have been intercepted to this date, resulting in the seizure of 13 tons of cocaine and 47 tons of hash, with an estimated street value of €2 billion. Keep in mind, guys, right? If let's just say they stopped 10%. That was 10% of the illegal drugs traffic for that year. That's 470 tons of cash that was going to be transported, let's say. So that's 200 billion. Is it 200 billion? 10 or 20 billion? Yeah, 20 billion euro. That's going to be missed out on. Crazy. And I would imagine that's a quite a generous figure to give them. I'd imagine it's only maybe 1%, and then that would be a 200 billion euro kind of figure. But yeah, I think I was being generous there, saying 10%. I don't think they catch anywhere near to 10% of the illegal drug traffic. Mr. O'Sullivan says that you would think with COVID there would be less drugs and less money and less traffic. Well, there's plenty of drug vessels. Cartels are thinking Europe is in crisis. They won't be able to mobilise. At times, they have increased the numbers of ships. Absolutely ridiculous. Why would we even continue in this war on drugs? It's lost, guys. Like, the drugs have won. Let's start helping people. Like, people with addictions who are addicted to drugs, they need to be looked after with a bit of care and compassion, and not criminalised and cared for in handcuffs. Absolutely ridiculous. Other news, guys. Ian Bailey makes today's news. So Ian Bailey makes today's news because he got caught with a bit of cannabis. He got stopped, and the cops smelt a bit of drink off him, and they breathalyzed him. He failed a roadside breathalyzer, and they brought him back to the cop station. When they got him back there, then he actually passed the alcohol test, and they searched him and they found cannabis on him. Then they tested him for the cannabis, and he failed that. So they're now trying to criminalise him for driving under the influence of cannabis, but he's arguing against it because they never tested him at the roadside for it. So therefore, they shouldn't be able to criminalise him for it now, because it's a retroactive way in which they're doing it. So he seems that Ian Bailey is advising his solicitor or something along those lines, because it's a well thought out argument there. If you don't know Ian Bailey, he was caught up there in the murder of the actress Sophie Toscan de Plantier, the West Cork French woman. So whether he did it or not, I don't know. Somebody pointed out there earlier that there's a very good podcast to check out. I must check it out myself. It's not actually even a podcast, it's more kind of an audio book. It's called West Cork, and it's all about the Ian Bailey case. So I must check that out and see if I can make up my mind as to whether the guy did it or not. But what a mess the cops down in West Cork made of this. Another interesting thing in his story was that the cops actually tried to bribe somebody with hash or cannabis from the evidence room to kind of snitch on him, or to kind of keep an eye on him anyway, or some form. And that kind of came out there afterwards. And the cops made an absolute fucking mess of it. They did it. So yeah, Ian Bailey makes today's 420 news. I don't know. I'm undecided whether he did it or not. I don't know enough. But the cops definitely fucked up that case big time. So onwards we go. I might see if I can get him on to comment on his cannabis case. We'll see. Other news, guys, we have machete, knife, cash and suspected drugs seized in Cork City. So Gardaí seized suspected drugs, weapons and cash following an operation in Cork City. The seizure occurred yesterday at around 1 p.m. after Gardaí from Cork City Centre Policing Unit, assisted by the Armed Support Unit, executed a search warrant of an apartment on Mulgrave Place. During the course of the search, the Gardaí seized €2,000 of LSD, what it balls, €200 worth of cannabis herb, €800 in cash, a machete, a knife, a hammer, a mobile phone and 2 weighing scales. They said that the suspected drugs will now be sent for forensic Forensic Science Ireland, and then wasting money. And Gardaí said that no arrests have been made, but they are following a definite line of inquiry. How have no arrests been made? But anyway, look, yeah, they do that. They'll arrest somebody later on. But €2,000 worth of LSD, €200 worth of cannabis. All the balls, like, just, this is a joke. It really is a joke that this is going on. You have a machete, a knife, and a hammer. Like, is a machete illegal? Is a knife illegal? I don't know. Is a hammer illegal? What the hell is up there with this? Like, why are they including these in it? Like, okay, mobile phones and the weighing scales, obviously they're trying to make the connection there to drug dealing. But are they trying to insinuate that this person is some sort of a violent maniac, like that he has these weapons for violent means? It seems like they're really trying to attack the character of the individual here who's caught up in this. And it's just something you see in these cases. It's something I've experienced myself in court when they make claims that I was speeding despite having no evidence to prove that I was speeding. You know, they try to attack your character. And I just think that's what they're doing here in this. But again, look, if this dude is some sort of a violent lunatic, isn't this an argument why we should have drugs sold from regulated stores and not from dudes with machetes, knives and hammers? So yeah, other news, guys. Up in Tipperary, we go up to Clonmel and look at this fine piece of work. The cannabis actually looks quite poor that they found here. It was €800 worth of cannabis they found, and they also found, what was it? It was, €500 worth of cannabis, €4,250 worth of cocaine, and €150 worth of Alprazam tablets there as well. All of the suspected drugs are going to be sent for analysis again. You know, these Forensic Science Ireland guys, they're cleaning up, like no shortage of work there for them. Again, no arrests have been made here in this case. But the Gardaí search operation took place in Clonmel, Tipperary this Friday. Gardaí seized €5,000 worth of suspected drugs in Clonmel, Tipperary, as part of an ongoing operation targeting the sale and supply of drugs in Clonmel. Gardaí from the Clonmel District Drugs Unit, assisted by uniformed Gardaí from Clonmel Garda Station, carried out a search of a house in the Old Bridge area around 1 p.m. So there you go, more waste of time by the Gardaí carrying out searches. But again, look, cocaine and cannabis side by side, as well as other drugs, guys. This is the gateway theory and how there's any credibility to it. And it's the gateway theory is that prohibition causes a gateway to more harmful drugs. If you want to go buy your cannabis, this guy also is going to offer you some cocaine, and he might offer you some tablets too. How is that good? How in the name of God can you think that this is a good idea to continue keeping these drugs in this kind of a way? Other news, Drogheda man admits to unlawful possession of €5 worth of cannabis. I hope they give him the death sentence, you know what I mean? Like, really, they need to hang, draw and quarter this guy. He's such a criminal, bad man. €5 worth of cannabis. He's 23 years of age. He admitted to the unlawful possession of €5 worth of cannabis at Oriel Park and was sentenced to 1 month at Dundalk District Court. So he got 1 month prison for this, actually. Dean Thornton of Beechwood Drive, Drogheda, was prosecuted for an offence on September 8, 2017 when Dundalk Football Club played Drogheda United in the FAI Cup. Judge Aaron McKiernan, Aaron McKiernan, heard the defendant had a number of previous convictions, including having drugs for sale and supply, and has been in custody since February and is due for release next year. Giving him another month for €5 worth of cannabis, like, come off the stage, Judge. It's just ridiculous. I don't care, like, if he was up for selling a supply of all sorts of stuff. It's €5 worth of cannabis, like, come on. And you gave him a month for it. A month. It's 100,000 per year for prisoners in Ireland, like, so a month it's going to cost the taxpayer somewhere in the region of, I don't know, €5,000 to €8,000 to keep this guy in a prison cell for the next month. Why cost that much to the taxpayer for €5 worth of cannabis? Like, it's so stupid, like. And that's it, guys. That's today's 420 news. Hey, I got her out there, cheat. Woo! Thank Crunchy, it's Friday. And the 420 news is done today. Where's my lighter? Crotching it. So let's head on over to the Facebook comments, guys. Let's see how you're all doing out there, guys. It's nice to see some comments there anyway. Jeez, I got quite a few to get through. So let's do it. Let's try to keep this video under an hour so I can just upload it to Instagram without editing it. Caleb's saying there, better luck next time. Nice one. Then we have Krisham Jha commenting there. Hello from Galway. Nice one for coming along. Looking forward to today's show. Spliff's ready. Katie Richardson, Chilhun. You are doing good, I think you're saying there. I think you might have had some typos. 6:20 news today then from Teresa. No, I actually got in a plane and I think I'm in, is it Iceland now? Yeah, I might be in Iceland now. It's just I didn't change the background to represent, but it's 4:20 in Iceland at 6:20 in Ireland time. It's always 4:20 somewhere, guys. Just remember that. And then we have Margaret adding in there, evening from Tipperary. And she also says that the country is full of rats, especially in the Dáil. Yeah, as I say, I'm going down David Icke's route, and they're all lizard people because they're emotionless fucking creatures. They don't have an ounce of emotion in them at all. That the fact that they're keeping cannabis illegal and letting these patients suffer. Then Debbie says, blunt, I'm in the UK and I just call mine spliff or a J or a joint. Yeah, I used to be the norm as well, but it was something I only read recently that apparently spliff and joint are two different things in America anyway, that is. But here in Ireland, yeah, I agree with you. Spliff, joint, biff, they're all interchangeably used to describe like tobacco and cannabis. But yeah, apparently it's an American thing. I don't know. Teresa says, yeah, I have an American friend. She said when she first came here, she couldn't believe we put tobacco into her joints. Of the tobacco, 7 years now myself, I use a pipe. Amazing. Well done, Teresa. Delighted to hear that there. Another purity like myself. And again, not trying to be judgmental or anything, guys. It's just like, you know, when you know that there's a better way of doing things, you can't help but want to enlighten other people to that too, but I don't want to be too in your face about it either. Robert says, great show, need more people like me. Nice one, Robert, man, appreciate it. Sadly, there is only one of me. I think that's for the better of the world. I can't imagine there being another one of me out there. I'd love to meet him though and have a chat with him. When you put it like that, can't afford pure spliffs, but yeah, tobacco costs the earth, nicotine addiction, carcinogens, tar. Exactly, man. I think there's bigger costs, or Debbie, sorry for calling you man. But yeah, I think there's a bigger cost there to tobacco that aren't really seen in the pocket. Ronan adds there as well that their time would be better served patrolling the super trawlers pillaging the coast. I couldn't agree with you more, man. That's a story I'm following closely as to what's going on the coast of Ireland with the fishermen and our seas and our waters, because it's all connected, you know. The salmon, the trout, the fish that I love to fish so much as a young person, they get caught up in all of this shit out there and see all these super trawlers and the bycatch, and it's ridiculous. Like our fisheries are being decimated, and meanwhile, sure, stopping cannabis and cocaine is more important actually than the illegal fishing. Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm delighted you brought that up, Ronan. So thanks very much there for bringing that up. I tell you one thing: if these bucks are building their own semi-subs, you gotta hand it to them. Yeah, man, and I agree with you, Ronan. There, if they're building their own subs, like, it's just well done, guys. You know, they deserve to get their drugs there. In fairness, like, not an effort that they go to. Sandra says hi with HIGH, a favourite of mine. Sanjin says thanks. Sandra, hashtag free our plant. Debbie, so no guns, a hammer and a machete could be in a garage. Yeah, exactly. Like, do you know what I mean? I agree with you there. A hammer and a machete, they're not illegal, like, but they're trying to attack the character or the guy. That's it. Sanjin says social credit system coming. They're watching our behavioural methods, meaning no doubt be with you always. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that there is definitely going to be some form of a social credit system or something like that coming soon, and it's definitely coming in the form of this vaccine now, where you know, if you don't have a vaccine quite soon, you're going to be cut off from public services and all sorts of things. You know, getting on airplanes, going to restaurants. Who knows what they're actually going to do with this? I think this is just a start to it anyway. I think that the next thing is after that is get rid of cash, because cash is dirty. And you know, but anyhow, look, I won't go off and think there, because people are only saying, "No, these nutbag stoners and their conspiracy theories." Terence adds in here, Donegal reporting and loading the bong. Yes, big rip there, man. I'd love to have my bong here with me now, just to take a big rip of it with you, but I'll do that later. Tony's adding in, how am I? I'm doing very good, Tony. Happy to be here. Happy it's Friday, so I hope you're doing good as well. And Christy then, final comment there for the day, adds in, the way this fella was vilified for €5 worth is a good reason why more people don't speak up about their use. I agree with you, man. I think, and we shouldn't allow it to do that to us. I think we should. I'd see it for what it is. The judge is not trying to make an example of a person, but there's only so long that the judge can do this for. There's only so much room in the prison systems, and there's only so much the public will tolerate with this. So I think that once we can highlight it in a way that the harm that they're doing by doing this, I think that yeah, we can use it against them anyway. But as I said, like, there's only so much room in the prisons. They can only lock up so many of us. They can't lock us all up. So don't let this be a deterrent for you to speak out about your use. You know, I think there's bigger harms coming from remaining silent than there is from speaking out. And Teresa just got in one last comment there. There ain't no conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy. Yeah, I know. I won't even say the words, because if I was to say the PLANDM word, I might get my video banned or something like that, because you know, the powers that be don't want us to be enlightening people as the agenda of what's going on. But anyhow, you know, and Sandra says, happy hippie Friday, stay blessed and blazed always. That's a great comment to end the show, guys. So thanks very much, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here before you on Friday, sharing the news, sharing the spliffs, and just the good vibes, guys. Much love to everybody out there, guys. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I hope the 5-0 stay away from me. I hope you don't bump into any of those little piggies out there. And I look forward to seeing you back here on Monday. Keep an eye out there as well over the weekend, guys. I should have 2 interviews being released there over the weekend that have been done. They're just here on my computer now to be edited, so keep an eye out for them as well. They're to come soon. Damn, I don't think I got that done in under the hour and 3 minutes. Anyhow, sure, yeah, you can try. But as always, guys, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/MartinsWorld, and you also have the option to donate bitcoins over on martinsworld.ie. So check those out, guys. The money will be used for setting up a cannabis activist hub and for fighting for the legalisation of cannabis in Ireland. So, guys, 'tis Friday, 'tis the end of 420 news. Stay blazed, keep her lit. Keep her lit. I'm going to keep this one lit there now, because I don't have to talk anymore. So peace, guys. Much love.